Hi everyone, quick disclaimer / backstory before we start. I want to mention that today's trip report is indeed paid for, partially. Let me explain. On October 10th, 2018, WestJet announced their first transatlantic Dreamliner destinations, Calgary to London, Paris, and of course, Dublin. Less than an hour later, I had booked myself an economy class ticket to Ireland. That evening after I booked the flight, I received a voicemail from none other than WestJet's CEO, Ed Sims himself. He told me that I was actually the very first person to book the Calgary to Dublin route. So a few days later, I received this very nice box of WestJet merchandise, as well as his business card. Fast forward a few months, just a few days before my flight, I received an email from WestJet saying that my seat had been changed to one in business class. I won't say any names out of privacy, but I'm very thankful to WestJet and my contacts there. Being able to fly with their flagship product on such a special flight is a huge privilege. I do want to mention that nobody at WestJet has pre-screened this video. These are my honest thoughts and opinions. That said, it's WestJet, it's a Dreamliner, and it's business class. I think it'll be a pretty good flight. Hope you enjoy the video. Hello from Calgary International Airport. My name is Alex, and welcome to a very, very special trip report. Today, I'm flying on board the inaugural flight of WestJet's 787 Dreamliner from Calgary to Dublin, Ireland. I'm flying over the Atlantic tonight on WestJet Flight 6 in WestJet's lie-flat business cabin. Check-in went normally. I had already checked in online, but needed a bag tag. Bag drop was also easy. There were plenty of very helpful WestJetters around for this inaugural flight. Even though there was just one lane open, security only took about 5 minutes. Business class passengers have access to the Aspire Lounge in Calgary's International Terminal. It's accessed from this elevator, which takes you up a few levels. There was a decent selection of food for supper time. There's a good view as well, overlooking the US departures area, but not any airplanes, unfortunately. Overall, it was a nice place to spend a couple of minutes before flying. It's a bit busy this time of evening when most of our transatlantic flights depart, but otherwise it was enjoyable and I got a good meal out of it. Back in the departures area, here's my aircraft for today's inaugural flight, arriving from Toronto. Charlie Golf Uniform Romeo Papa is WestJet's second Dreamliner and was delivered in February this year. This was the same aircraft I first flew in their business class with back in March. At the gate, WestJet had food for everyone, as well as a cake commemorating this first flight. There were also some dogs from Pals Calgary who act as therapy dogs for travelers, and, well, they were adorable.
Hi. Luna's going to be on YouTube now.
She is.
Do you have to train them?
The count of three, WestJet's number one. 1, 2, 3. WestJet's number one.
You know, it was a great speculation within WestJet where the first of our 10 Dreamliners was going to be based, and secondly, where they would fly. For us, as the executive team, it was a bit of a no-brainer. Of course it's going to be Alberta. Of course it's going to be Calgary. This is our home. Because, you know, we are not made in Alberta. We're made of Alberta, and that's our home.
And I also want to say that I think it's a sign of optimism. The recent transaction between WestJet and Onyx, which was clearly, as Onyx said to me, a bet on the future of Alberta, a company that's right. So that is a very important statement. It was an endorsement of the strategic direction of WestJet increasingly to become a global airline.
Canada is now, in revenue terms, the number 5 market for tourism to Ireland, which is extraordinary globally. It's the number 9 market in passenger terms, but because Canadians are such generous people who stay longer on their holidays and spend more money, you're at number 5 in that. So thank you for your generosity.
Direct connections mean more business, more tourism, and more growth. And for that, we have our home carrier to thank, WestJet. From my perspective as an airport CEO, WestJet is making me look very good.
You're doing the count. Who's doing the countdown?
I'll do the count. Everybody ready? I think you're all ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right.
Keep the nose up, Jason.
In 3, 2, 1. Oh, there we go.
Max, party of 3, Madison, McCray.
Board now or at their convenience. Thank you for choosing WestJet and welcome aboard.
Nous remercions d'avoir choisi WestJet et bienvenue à bord. Tous les autres passagers doivent demeurer.
Thank you. Have a wonderful flight.
Hi, thank you.
My seat for tonight's transatlantic flight is 1A at the very front of WestJet's business class cabin. Once I sat down, I was greeted by name by a very friendly WestJet cabin crew member and was given a menu and amenity kit.
Okay, beautiful.
After a quick read of the menu, the same crew member took my order for both dinner and breakfast services and also asked if I'd like to sleep after eating. For my pre-departure drink, I decided to try WestJet's signature cocktail, which I thought was very tasty. As you'll see, I ended up having quite a few over the course of the flight. In the inaugural flight goodie bag were a lot of cool things, including some WestJet socks, earbuds, and this sign letter from Ed Sims. My personal favorite was this inaugural flight pin. Hot towels were also given out just before pushback. I'll go over the rest of the seat and the amenity kit once we're airborne. For now, here's the very first departure of WestJet Flight 6 from Calgary, taking off from runway 17 right.
Avoid injury to yourself or other guests. Please note that exit signs on this aircraft utilize.
WestJet has 16 lie-flat pods in their business cabin. Each seat comes with lots of storage, an 18-inch in-flight entertainment screen, some headphones, and a bottle of water in the armrest. On the other side is a literature pocket and vanity mirror, as well as a universal power outlet and touchscreen remote. The tray table is also very sturdy and has a lot of room to work with. The partition on the aisle side of the seats also offers a lot of privacy. The amenity kit on tonight's flight includes the usual necessities like socks and an eye mask, but all of the products here are from Canadian companies, something that WestJet's very proud of. The literature pocket contents are the same as usual, with a safety card, air sickness bag, and this month's issue of the WestJet magazine. Not long after departure, the cabin crew came around with post-departure drinks and a light snack of popcorn. WestJet's in-flight entertainment system on their 787s is excellent. There's a great selection of movies, TV shows, music, and reading material. I also like the moving map a lot. It comes with plenty of different views and is fairly easy to use. The business headphones are also very comfortable. The sound quality was good and they're adjustable as well. The crew were having some issues with the in-flight Wi-Fi, and it didn't work until about 3 hours into the flight. Once it did though, I bought a flight pass for about $20. The Wi-Fi was reasonably fast and enough for me to keep you all updated on my Instagram story. For my appetizer, I picked the salmon, which came with a bread basket. The salmon itself looked great and it was delicious. I would definitely recommend it. One thing that impressed me was that the bread in the basket was actually warm. The bread itself wasn't too dry at all. It had a great texture and it was very tasty with some butter. Overall, a great start to the meal. Moving on to the main course, where I picked the beef short rib. Like the appetizer, this was ridiculously good. The beef melted in my mouth and the sauce was flavorful and really complemented the... Okay, look, it's not hard to tell that I know nothing about food, but this was delicious. For dessert, I went with the cherry pie. I was told that I could either have this hot or cold, but that it would take about 15 minutes to warm up. In the interest of going to sleep sooner, I decided to have it cold, and it was pretty good. That said, I think I'd recommend having it warmed up instead. In the end, it took a little over 2 hours after departure for my meal service to be finished. It helps that I was first to be served, but still, a definite improvement from what I've heard on WestJet's earlier long-haul flights. The business-only lavatory on WestJet's Dreamliner is fairly roomy. I've said this plenty of times in my earlier 787 videos, but I really do like the small WestJet details throughout the cabin. When I got back to my seat, it had been very nicely made into a bed by one of the cabin crew. I'm definitely not used to turn-down service, so this was a very nice touch. The blanket and pillow provided were both super comfortable. I will say it took a little bit of adjusting for me to sleep comfortably. I'm 6'8", so in the fully flat position, I'm actually a bit taller than the bed. I ended up sleeping with the seat angled for a bit more footroom. Still, I was woken up by the cabin crew near Iceland after a very pleasant 3-hour sleep. For the average height person, I have no doubt that the bed will be even better. Before going to sleep, the cabin crew asked me how long before landing I'd like to wake up. I said around 2 hours, just so I had time to film a bit more, and was woken up 2 hours before landing on the dot. Within minutes, I had a hot cup of coffee in hand and the Canadian breakfast on my tray table. Once again, I got another basket of delicious warm bread with this amazing breakfast plate. This came with Saskatoon berry jam and, of course, maple syrup. I can't stress this enough. This was a really nice way to wake up. All 16 seats in business were occupied, and premium and economy were almost full. I'd say the load factor was about 95%, if not more. A very strong start for this route, which I'm glad to see. As Ireland came into view, hot towels were given out, as well as these tasty maple candies.
We're going to be starting our descent at your cruising altitude in about 10 minutes time, and anticipate on-time arrival into Dublin this morning. Looks like 11:33 local time. You do need to reset your watches currently 10:55. And on the ground, we're looking at 60 degrees right now, overcast skies and light winds at the current time. There is forecasting for gustier winds an hour or two after our arrival, with some possible light rain showers. Thanks again for joining us this evening, choosing WestJet for your travel plans. We very much appreciate your support. We hope to see you on board in the near future. Have a great stay in Dublin or the air travel. Thanks very much.
And with that, we descended into Dublin, landing on runway 28. Having now flown the Dreamliner both on a domestic flight and a long-haul flight, I genuinely believe that WestJet has a winner on their hands. The food on this flight was phenomenal. That was some top-tier catering, and I was very impressed by both the quality of the food and just how tasty it all looked. I've always had a good experience when it comes to service on WestJet, and this flight was no different, if not even better. The cabin crew serving business were all unbelievably nice, and they really went above and beyond the whole flight. The entire crew was very friendly, and one of them happened to recognize me from the first Revenue 787 flight earlier this year. This was the first time in almost a decade that I flew transatlantic directly from Calgary. That kind of convenience is unmatched, especially when I've only gone through Europe through Toronto the last couple of years. I was blown away by WestJet's hospitality and their generosity towards me in the first place. Both the flight crew and cabin crew were fantastic. They're very proud of their new Dreamliner, and I can't wait to fly with them again on the return flight. Now for the wait to get through immigration, and I think this is where I'll wrap things up. Thank you to WestJet, thank you to the wonderful people there who made this happen, and thank you very much for watching. I do hope you liked this trip report that's been 8 months in the making. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.